Hello everyone, this is going to be a video where I share with you my favorite makeup products for this past year. I wasn't planning on doing this, but I was watching some other creators and their 2019 favorites, and I felt inspired to do my own. So I hope you enjoy, and of course, please subscribe to this channel. We are trying to hit, hopefully at some point, 100,000 subscribers. That would be wonderful. So if you like beauty, skincare, and true, honest review and swatch videos, then this is the channel for you. And follow COLOURPOP over on Instagram. There is maybe one day left, depending on when this video goes up, for the giveaway that we're running over on Instagram, so make sure you go check that out if you would like to be a winner. I am going to focus purely on makeup products in this video, so if you want a similar video for skincare and bath care and accessories, I will consider doing that if enough people show interest in the comments section. I will link all the products that I mentioned in the description box below if they are things that are still around and you can purchase, so that you can check them out and potentially purchase them if you would like to try them also. And as I always do, I leave a link to Ebates, or Rakuten now it's called, because if you are a person who does online shopping, you can get cash back automatically if you go through sites like Ebates. So I know many of you watch my What's New in Beauty videos, and those are products that are new on the market or at least new to my collection. And when I was thinking about what products I would pick for this video, I kind of went back and forth between, well, should I only choose products that were new in 2019? I decided against that because if you are mainly interested in what's new on the market for 2019, then you can just go over to the playlist for those videos and watch those. You can binge watch them if you please. And in those videos, I already tell you which of those products I think are good and which ones aren't. In this favorites video, these are, for the most part, items that aren't necessarily new. I didn't give any sort of limitation on when these products came out. In fact, some of them may not even be sold anymore, but what I concentrated on are things that I truly use a lot, things that are truly my favorite products. That ends up being, for most of these products, things that I use very consistently on a daily or near daily basis. There are a few of these things that I use just occasionally and they're still my favorite, but for the most part, these are just really tried and true products regardless of when they were released. And I am wearing pretty much everything that I'm going to share with you in this video on my face to create this look. I'll insert little clips of me applying them so that you can see them in use. I didn't really have a favorite primer that I used this year. In fact, I very rarely now use a primer for my face, so we're gonna skip that one. And of course, if I don't mention something in a certain category, it means I just don't really have a favorite for that specific type of item. But moving right along to foundation. My favorite foundation is something that I just started using this past year, and I believe it was released in 2019. This is the Hourglass foundation. What is it specifically called? It's the Hourglass Vanish Seamless Finish Foundation. I am not someone who really loves Hourglass as a brand in general, which is part of why I don't really know what the name of this is off the top of my head, but I love this foundation, and I feel like it's difficult to create a truly magnificent stick formulated foundation because it's very easy for it to be drying and not look natural on the skin. The formula for this is so fantastic. I actually have this foundation in 3 separate shades because I love the formula so much, and I want to be able to cater to my skin tone depending on the season, since I'm lighter in the winter months and darker in the summer months. So I have this in 3 different shades. The shades that I use for this video is Linen, and this is more my winter shade. It is a formula that just looks absolutely natural and beautiful on the skin. It is very skin-like, and it doesn't dry out the skin. I don't get any patchiness or splotchiness or crepey spots with this formula. At the same time, it keeps my skin fairly matte. I do have kind of shiny, I would say not oily anymore now that I'm getting older, thankfully, but definitely combination skin. So this does a good job of looking natural while giving me some mattifying effects without any of the dryness. Fantastic, fantastic foundation. I wouldn't call this a full coverage foundation, but it's definitely medium coverage. You could sheer it out if you wanted to, but when you build it up, it gives you medium coverage. My other favorite for 2019 was a little bit of a rediscovery. This is MAC's Face and Body Foundation. This is just kind of an OG formula, and I have never found anything from any other brand, even the brands that specifically make foundations that are supposed to duplicate this in terms of being skin-like. I just have not found anything that looks as beautiful as the Face and Body Foundation on the skin. The reason why it was more of a rediscovery is because I actually typically keep these, I have 2 bottles of these, in the refrigerator, because I heard at some point that the formula tends to separate. So that's why I kind of forgot about it, because it was sitting in my fridge. But I have been using this so much for everyday use. This is the most beautiful looking on the skin for every day. So it's not going to give you, at least I haven't found that it gives me full coverage. It is more light coverage, and you can build it up to be about medium coverage, but there is nothing that looks as seamless on the skin during the daytime in natural light than this Face and Body Foundation. It has a liquid formula, and honestly, the way I typically apply it is I rub it on my hands like I would a moisturizer, and I apply it that way, and then if I need more coverage, I will do a second layer. There's no active mattifying effect that this has. It's just completely like your skin. So if you are someone who is super shiny and oily, then that's eventually the finish that you're going to get after you're wearing this for a while. But if you are someone with dry skin, normal skin, or even like me, combination skin, this is something that you could definitely wear without necessarily powdering, or just once you're getting a little bit shiny throughout the day, blotting or powdering in specific areas that you're shiny. This specific shade is C2, but I believe the other bottle that I have is C3. May as well not guess and just grab it. This is, yep, in the shade C3. And as you can see, this is a much smaller bottle than this one. A couple of years ago, I think, MAC started offering the smaller size, which honestly, you should go ahead and buy this small size unless you're a makeup artist who uses this in your kit on multiple people. Personal use, this will last you a really long time. All right, and on the other end of the spectrum, the sheerest coverage tinted moisturizers, I guess you would call them, as opposed to foundations. The one that has been a favorite for many, many years running is Laura Mercier's Tinted Moisturizer. This has an SPF of 20, and this maintains its status as one of my favorites in terms of the tinted moisturizer categories. Again, just looks absolutely beautiful on the skin. It's surprising actually how much coverage you do get for this being a tinted moisturizer. I would say this is not even sheer coverage. I would call it light coverage. And the shade that I typically use is Nude. The newer one that I started using in 2019 is actually from NEUTROGENA, another company that I typically don't have a lot of products from, or I don't think of as a brand that I have a lot of loves in the line, but this is a fantastic tinted moisturizer. This is the Protect and Tint tinted moisturizer. It has an SPF of 30, which is fantastic because that's a moderately good amount of SPF to have. And I have the shade Fair to Light. Once again, this I would call sheer, maybe almost light coverage, but more on the sheer side. And it just, again, looks one with the skin and absolutely natural. Following the order that I applied my makeup in, we're gonna jump actually to the eyes. I'm gonna start with eyeshadow primer. And honestly, it's the E.L.F. $1 primer that they have. I know they have other primers that are more expensive, but I really don't see a reason to not just go with the $1 one. I will literally buy these in a pack of maybe like 10 every couple of years. It's just a straightforward, reliable primer formula. It's what I use for the most part in my videos as the base when I swatch eyeshadows, and I use it on my eyes too. There's no reason to pay literally 20 times as much sometimes for an eyeshadow primer. This one works great. It has a thin formula that's easily spreadable. It doesn't really give you any coverage. I know some people have discoloration or veins on their eyelids that they want to cover up. So if you're one of those people, then this is not the best product for you. But if you're just looking for what I'm looking for, which is to be a base and to prevent creasing, this is a fabulous product. Moving on to my favorite eyeshadows for this year. And I didn't really concentrate on single shadows. I concentrated more on finding out which ones were my favorite eyeshadow palettes for this year. And there are 2 of them. The first one is Urban Decay's Naked Honey palette. I think this is a fantastic, fabulous array of colors. It is a nudes or neutrals palette, but with added spice. I don't think this is boring at all. I think that there is a beautiful selection of mattes in particular. I was comparing this actually to the original Urban Decay Naked palette, which is one of my all-time favorites. But when I'm comparing them, this one is actually more versatile than that one because there's a lot more matte neutral shades that I can use and play with and then pair with the shimmering shades. The honey shade is, I think, very unique because it's quite yellow or golden toned. And when I put it side by side up against my original Naked palette, what I realized is that I use a lot more of the shades in the honey palette than I do in the original palette. When I use the original palette, which is a lot, I tend to stick to this side of the palette for the most part. I don't really use these shades very much, the last 4 shades or so. But when I look at the honey palette, you know, this orangey gold shade is a little, you know, off the path of neutrals, so to speak, for kind of every day. So I tend to wear this more for nighttime looks or more special occasions. But other than that, I use on a regular basis the whole array of this palette of all of these shades. So I think in that sense, it's even more something that I use than the original Naked palette. It was a really rough explanation, but I hope you get what I'm saying. And then my other favorite palette is not consistent with what I said at the beginning of this video because this is actually not something that I use very frequently, but the quality of the shadows is just so beautiful. This is the palette I used to create this look for this video. This is the NATASHA DENONA Metropolis palette. So very expensive. That's really the drawback of this palette and frankly most of the things in her line. But I just cannot argue with the color story and the quality in this palette, especially the mattes in this palette. They are quite unique. I don't know that I can think of any other brand that has a matte formula like this. It is truly like a cream to powder type of formula. If you touch these mattes, there is a creamy quality to them. A lot of companies call their matte formulas creamy mattes and cream to powder, and really you just think, well, this just seems like a powder to me. Yes, it blends well, but I don't know if there's anything creamy about it. This is truly, when you use the term creamy, you can feel that in the formula. And the shimmering shades are equally beautiful, soft and buttery too. And the color story, this is, again, very, very usable and wearable every single day, but it is not boring at all. You have these selected pops of colors, especially the greens here and the blues, that make it so that you can create a more unique, versatile, fun look for the nighttime or for a special occasion. And since I use these to create the eye look, I'm gonna mention a couple of my favorite eyeshadow brushes. One won't be a surprise to anyone. This is the MAC 239 used by lots of different people. It's just the one that I use most commonly. It's a flat kind of packing brush for the lids. And one of my favorite brushes for the crease is actually this brush by Eve Pearl. Not a brand that a lot of people talk about on YouTube, but she has fantastic things in her line. I don't actually even know if this is sold anymore, but this is the 108 brush, and it is a crease brush. But what is so beautiful about this brush is that it is really nice on my kind of relatively smaller eye space. It is a standard size kind of width-wise, but then it is kind of narrow and flat, which makes this a beautiful brush for my eye space because I can use it kind of to be more precise in the crease area by positioning the brush this way, and then I can flip it over so that it's wider to blend that out without having to switch to another brush. And the bristles are very, very soft. So this is a fantastic brush if you are ever on the Eve Pearl website or Namies. I think they're probably still sold at Namies, and there's some sort of sale or you're buying things, I would definitely pick this brush up. The best long wearing eyeliner that I have used this year is by L'Oreal. This is the Infallible Long Wear Eye Pencil, and this is the shade Brown. This is what I use typically in the daytime, but the formula that they have on these is very creamy. They glide onto the lids. You don't have to pull and tug. The color is very pigmented and solid, but then once you apply them, they set. They don't budge. They're very water resistant. So that is the reason why this has been a favorite for 2019. Mascaras. I have a few of them. I couldn't really choose which were my favorites. So I'm just gonna tell you all of them. First, let's start with what is one of my favorite natural looking mascaras. So this is for the person who doesn't want to look like they're wearing a bunch of mascara, but wants to define their eyes. And this was really surprising to me. It's something that I've had for a long time, but didn't start wearing till actually maybe a couple months ago. And that's a mascara by ALMAY. Another brand that I really don't typically have favorite products from, or frankly even products that I like. I tend to think of ALMAY as like the kind of reject brand at the drugstore, I'm sorry to say, but this mascara really surprised me, and it looks beautifully natural on the lashes. This is the One Coat Thickening Mascara in the shade Black Brown, which contributes it even more to looking more natural. I don't have any major issues with this flaking or smudging, so another reason why it is perfect for everyday use. And it doesn't look clumpy, it doesn't look spidery. It really just emphasizes your lashes in a way that looks beautifully natural. And that's what the brush looks like, kind of standard taper as you get to the end. And by the way, another one of my all-time favorite natural looking mascaras is by Maybelline. That's their Full and Soft mascara. Another fabulous choice if you want a more natural looking mascara. And I maintain that that's one of my favorites. It's just that I happen to use this ALMAY one a lot more for 2019. Moving on to the realm of less natural, more dramatic looking mascaras, I have two favorites from 2019. The first one is another L'Oreal product. This is the Voluminous Lash Paradise. Don't really have to go into this very much because it's a lot of people's favorite mascaras. That's what the brush looks like. But the other one that was my favorite this past year that not a lot of people talk about is ColourPop's mascara. This is the only mascara that they released, and they released it in 2019. I've only used the shade Black, but this is a fabulous mascara. It is long wearing, it doesn't give you a bunch of clumps or flakiness or smudging, and it really makes your lashes look dramatic and you can build it up. This is what that brush looks like. And the next time I put in a ColourPop order, which frankly, I don't know when that will be. I don't know, other than the mystery bag, I don't think I have purchased anything in 2019 from ColourPop. I really don't agree with the way that they release new products constantly. It drives me insane. So I frankly am not really interested in the products that the brand releases, save for this mascara. So, but like I said, the next time I do make a ColourPop purchase, this is definitely getting added, maybe even more than one. And moving into the realm of more waterproof mascaras, these aren't actually called waterproof mascaras, but they're functionally pretty waterproof. So the first one is kind of a set. So if you just use the mascara alone, it would be one of my favorite, just standard, more dramatic mascaras, and that is STILA's Huge Extreme Lash Mascara in the shade Black, and looks pretty much the same as the Lash Paradise brush. Let's go ahead and compare them. So the one from Lash Paradise is larger, but the shape is very similar. Anyway, this gives you, I think, even greater, longer, more voluminous lashes as you build it up in comparison to the Lash Paradise. But when you combine it with the lash primer from STILA, everything is rubbed off on this tube, so I don't actually know what this is called. Okay, it's the Lash Stunner Extreme Lash Primer, when you combine these two, this is pretty much waterproof. So whether you purchase this alone or combine it with the primer, both are fantastic products. Kind of similar is another mascara from L'Oreal. L'Oreal dominates the drugstore arena in terms of mascaras. This is the Voluminous Superstar X Fiber Mascara. So on one end you have kind of the primer end, and then the other side is, I believe, the fiber end, more of a curved brush. So of course you could use them separately, but I always use them together, and I use the first side on my lower lashes because I'm able to apply them easily with that brush. But on my top lashes, I will do the first side first and the second side second, and it's just a very wear resistant, fade resistant kind of mascara. So another favorite eye product for this year, it's in its own category kind of, is by Supergoop. This is one of the shimmer shades. There I think are 3 or 4 shades, but these are cream eye shadows that have SPF in them. There's an SPF of 30. I don't use this as an eyeshadow. It's not a formula that I love because it's a cream shadow that I love. It is something that is a favorite because I have used it consistently in 2019 as an additional layer of sun protection on the lids. I always make sure to apply sunscreen on the face, but it's difficult to make sure your actual mobile lid is protected because you don't really want to put sunscreen that close to your eye. This is a product very ingenious and innovative where they've been able to incorporate sun protection into a product that is appropriate to put on your mobile lid. So that is why I love this. I would not say that you are going to actually get SPF 30 on your lid because you probably will not apply a thick enough layer of the product to get that level of sun protection. But, you know, even if it's SPF 10, SPF 15, SPF 20, I think that it is worth it to just give you another added layer of sun protection, whatever you can do for the mobile lid area. Let's move on to concealer. So my favorite under eye concealer for 2019 was another product that was sort of a rediscovery, and they actually kind of relaunched this. I don't know if they changed the formula at all, but they definitely re-promoted and relaunched it. This is IT Cosmetics' Bye Bye Under Eye Full Coverage Anti-Aging Waterproof Concealer. This has a thicker formula to it, which some people might think is not great for the under eye area, but it is fantastic. There is pretty much nothing else that I have found that has the high level of coverage for the under eye area with a formula that is nourishing and moisturizing and does not end up looking dry and crepey. That's something that recently in the past year I've really been battling with and struggling with, is using concealers that I've used for a long time, but nowadays have started to make my under eye area look splotchy or crepey. It's probably an age thing, unfortunately, but that's why I have loved this formula, because it gives me the coverage and it gives me the moisturization in the under eye area. It stays in place, it doesn't move around, but it also does not end up looking creasy, crepey, and dry. I have this in 2 different shades, and the shade that I used in this video is 14 Light Tan. I will say that the shade range is a little curious because sometimes you can go up in number, but the shade itself actually becomes lighter. So just be careful. I would suggest trying to go to an actual store like Sephora to test out the shades to make sure you get the right match. My favorite concealer for the face is actually technically a foundation, but I use it as a concealer. It's from KEVYN, another OG product. This is the the Sensual Skin Enhancer. Another product where the shade numbering and matching will drive you insane. Go to a store, try to match yourself. This is something I bought years ago and the shade was totally off for my skin. It is the shade SX05. way too light for my skin. It might look to you on screen like it could be a good match, but it's not. It's way too pale for me. But I love this for spot concealing, and it's actually really nice for spot concealing because typically when you have something that's red or a pigmentation, so like a zit that is a couple weeks old but you still have that dark spot, the lighter nature of this color works really well. And the formula is quite thick, like super thick. It's a cream, but you know, it doesn't move around. It's thick. So that is great for areas, especially raised areas or anywhere where you have pigmentation and you need that concealer to stay, in particular if you're trying to put products over it. So this is fabulous for that purpose, for spot concealing on the face. You can still probably see it because it is raised and it's impossible to totally get rid of that kind of thing, but this blemish here is significantly covered up because of this product. I think I jumped ahead a little bit. My favorite contours, we're gonna start with cream contours. The first is from BECCA. This is the Lowlight Sculpting Perfector. I hope they still sell this. I use this all the time. It's pretty grody in there, but it is fantastic because it is a more gray toned, cool toned cream product, which really helps to mimic the character of a shadow as opposed to a warmer toned cream product, which is more like a bronzing color. Like, it's not the cheapest brand, but this has lasted me for such a long time. So definitely, I think, worth the money. Speaking of more warm toned products, this is what I use when I do want that more bronze sun-kissed look. This is MAC's Pure Sculpture Pro Sculpting Cream. The shade is Pure Sculpture, and you can see that it's definitely more orange tone. So I usually use this on the top of the forehead, sometimes kind of like near the sockets of the eyes, to mimic more of a sun-kissed look because it has a warmer tone to it. I do not use this shade to contour. You can see immediately how this is a lot more gray toned and the MAC one is much more orange toned. When it comes to powder contouring and bronzing powders, my favorite this past year was from Fiona Styles, which is unfortunate because this brand pretty much isn't sold anymore. She still has her website up and I think they're getting rid of the very last of the stock that they have, but this I don't think you'll be able to find, but if you can, definitely pick it up if it's of course not at some outrageous price. This is the Sheer Sculpting Palette in light and medium, and I so wish that this still existed because look at this shade, very, very gray toned, and it looks really, really pale, but again, on lighter to approaching medium skin, fabulous for creating true shadows and contours. This shade is another one that you can definitely use in the cheekbones. It's not super orange toned. It may look it compared to this, but it's not. It is actually quite gray toned. And then this last shade is beautiful for more of a bronze look, more all over the cheeks, and again on the high points of the face where the sun would naturally hit. These are more sheer powders, which makes them wonderful to work with because you're never going to overdo it. So I don't know. If you can find this anywhere, I would definitely recommend you pick it up. There's a light medium set and a medium to deep set. The medium to deep set is still kind of widely available, but the light medium one, I can't really find it anywhere. I think I did brows next. If not, we're gonna jump to brows. This was my favorite brow product. Another IT Cosmetics item. Again, I'm surprised because IT Cosmetics in general is not a brand that I tend to love, but it has at least two items this year where they were favorites. So this is the brow powder. This is another product where I don't know if it was a relaunch or if it actually was a new product in 2019, but in any case, it's in the shade Universal Transforming Taupe. And once again, that gray tone is perfect for the brows to make them not look crazy warm toned. So your hair may have natural warm tones, but typically people's eyebrows are more like black in terms of the tone. They're not really usually warm toned brown. So that's why this makes this a great color, and it just works really nicely, and it's super long wearing, which is what I think is more unique about this powder formula than other brow powders. My favorite setting powder for 2019 was by Flower Beauty, something that I think this is my third, what do you call this? My third pan. This is the third one that I've used, that I've been using, and I have 2 or 3 backups. Every time Flower Beauty has their big sales, I try to pick up a couple of these. This is the Miracle Matte Universal Finishing Powder. This one, the lid broke off because I took it with me traveling, but this is a powder that I really like because it is one of the setting powders that actually gives me noticeable long-term mattifying effect. Now, does it keep my face completely matte for the entire day? No, no powder is able to do that. You eventually will have to blot away shine if you have oily or combination skin. But compared to other setting powders that I have used, this one is noticeably longer in terms of the ability to mattify the face. It looks really nice in the skin. It doesn't look cakey or thick, or it looks natural on the skin. The one thing I will say is that it does impart a little bit of a white cast. So if you are deeper skinned, I would say if you're deeper than medium skinned, this may not work for you, because even on my lighter skin, if I apply a good amount in one area, I can tell that there is kind of a white sheen on my skin. So flash photography, you may not want to use this as your setting powder. If you are more deep in your skin tone, you may not want to use this setting powder. But otherwise, if you want it just for everyday use and you are medium to lighter or fair skinned and you want a mattifying effect, this is a great option. Let's talk about blushes next. And again, I have a few of them. First blush I want to talk about is from MAC. This is MAC's Pink Cult blush. This came out years ago in a MAC collection. It was limited edition, and I have never been able to find a blush shade from another brand that is close to this. And I am crossing my fingers that one day MAC will re-release this color, because there just really isn't anything like it. It is a very cool toned, dusty pink, lighter dusty pink. And for whatever reason, even though I have kind of yellow undertones in my skin, I really love the way that it looks. I don't know if you can see, sorry, this is a grody blush pan that I have, but it's something that I use on a regular basis, so that's just the way it is. Hit pan on it, and I'm not gonna not use it just because I know there's no replacement for it once I use it up. But if there's someone out there who knows of an actual dupe for MAC's Pink Cult shade, please tell me in the comment section below. I have looked, I've Googled it, I've looked on other bloggers' websites for products that they say are dupes. They're just not that close to this really super cool toned light dusty pink shade, almost like lavendery color. So if you know of one, please let me know, because I will go out and grab it. My 2 other most used blushes, one is from Milani. This is one of their flower blushes. I think they do still sell these. The powder blush in the shade 01 Romantic Rose. Beautiful, beautiful shade. What do I describe this as? Another more dusty, I guess I tend to like my dusty toned blushes, but a dusty rosy pink. And then this one from Clarins, this is one of the Jolie blushes in the shade 03 Cheeky Rose, bit of a deeper shade. I would say more of like a mauve shade. It doesn't come off as deep or strongly pigmented as it seems in this pan. You definitely can build it up to be really strong, but it doesn't necessarily come off on the skin this intense right away. But again, just a beautiful color. It does have a fragrance added to it. That's the only thing that I would change about this formula. My favorite cream blush is actually something that I didn't get until very recently. I bought it during Black Friday's set of sales, but it is fantastic. especially because it's really hard to find gel/cream blush formulas that blend into the skin easily and in a way that is not splotchy. And that is exactly what this does. This is by Illamasqua. This is their Color Veil Gel Blushers. They come in pots like this, and they look like that. It's called a gel, but I would say that the consistency is more of a hybrid between a cream and a gel. But these are so easy and beautiful to use. They blend out really nicely. You don't have to sit there and work with them a lot and make sure that it doesn't look splotchy. So I just am really thankful that Illamasqua created a formula that is easy to use in a gel/cream formula. And I actually have this in 2 different shades. The one I just showed you is Frisian, and the other shade that I have is this more peachy toned shade, and that is called Tonic. I did apply and use this in, which video was it? It was this month, or December 2019's What's New in Beauty video. So I actually applied the more peachy shade and have it worn on the skin in that video. So I forgot to apply it before I applied the powder blushes in this video, which I'm kind of upset about, but just hopefully you trust me that this is a beautiful, beautifully formulated blush if you are into non-powder blushes. Another one of my favorite brushes is another brush from Eve Pearl. This is the 110 brush. This is a fan brush. Now I have maybe 3 or 4 fan brushes in my collection, but the reason why this is my favorite is because it's so small. It's thin and small, which just really helps for blush application. I use this for blushes, and I use it for highlight because I can get in a really narrow space, and the fanned nature of the bristles makes it really easy for me to control how much pigmentation is going onto the skin and then build up and make sure that I don't overdo it. So love this brush. Moving on to highlighters. I have a few. Let's start with the natural end of highlighters. My favorite natural looking highlighter is from Essence. This is the Pure Nude Highlighter. I know this is other creators' favorite nudie natural looking highlighters too. It's in the shade 10 Be My Highlight, and it's the type of shade that you can use when you're going out into the bright sun. You don't have to worry about looking like a disco ball or having chunks of glitter on your cheeks. It blends into the skin and looks very natural while still giving you that luminosity. It looks almost like just a foundation, but it definitely gives you that beautiful, seamless luminosity. On the more dramatic end, this was one of the limited edition highlighters. This was released with Max El Cid collection, and this is in the shade Dima's Glow. The reason this was one of my favorite highlighters in 2019 is for several reasons. A, the packaging is absolutely stunning. The creativity is, you just have to appreciate the design on the actual pan. That's what it looks like up close. But it's not just surface level, it looks pretty. The quality was also there. So I especially appreciate that with something special or limited edition, that they didn't just say, oh, look, it looks pretty, here you go, but the formula is so-so. The highlighter itself, it is super soft. It goes on so smoothly, and it has a highlighting kick to it too. This shade is more warm toned. It's like almost like a soft coppery shade. You can see, especially compared to the Essence one, that is much more warm toned. So in particular, I think if you had more olive toned, maybe Mediterranean or deeper skin, this would look even more beautiful on your skin than, say, my skin, where this looks really nice, but if I overdo it, it looks kind of strange because just of the tone. But regardless, the formula is plus. And then the last one I want to mention is one of the 2 new highlighters Benefit released this past year. This is the one in the shade Tickle. And the reason I'm mentioning this one, even though I don't use this on a regular basis, I use it just on occasion. I am wearing it today in this video. That's the one that I applied. Is A, of course, because the formula is fabulous. It is super, super silky, soft, and creamy. just completely glides over the skin. But the bonus for this particular shade is that it is so unique. This is a duochromed highlighter, so it's kind of pinky at the base, but it has very strong gold flash to it. It doesn't make it unwearable, although I did apply a more sheer layer, which is typically what I do. If you build this up, which you can, you will definitely get more of a unique duochrome. So just make sure that that's actually what you want. And there you can see in comparison, hopefully you can see that duochrome where it goes gold and then a base of pink there. Super unique. And then something I want to mention, but I didn't know which category to put it in because it is a highlighter, but I love it not only as a highlighter, but as an eyeshadow. And so I'm just going to mention it now. This is one of Kaleidos's highlighters, particularly this shade, which is Laser Glazer. Again, super, super unique, not only in the packaging and creative design concept, but the shade itself. So this is like a, I don't know, how do you even describe this? Maybe like a taupey shade at the base, but it flashes green. And then on top of it, it also has pink shimmer in it, so I've never seen a shade like this. Okay, so from kind of maybe taupey nudie to, you can probably see the green flashes there. I don't know if you're able to see the pink flashes there. Hopefully you can. What makes this so special is that despite how unique it is in terms of the tones and the shades, you can still absolutely wear it as a highlighter, or you can use it as an eyeshadow topper, which is my favorite way to use this product. So I'm just tapping this on the lid on top of the NATASHA DENONA eyeshadows that I've already applied. Just wanted to show you in comparison. Wonderfully soft, creamy formula, blends and applies effortlessly. Laser Glazer, probably just my favorite color that was created this year. All right, we're coming down to the last few categories. We are gonna move on to the lips. I'm gonna start out by giving you my favorite lip tint products. They are very similar in effect. One is from Benefit. This is another long-standing OG type of product. This is Benetint. It is in a liquid formula. A lot of people use this on the cheeks. I do use it that way, but I predominantly use it on the lips just to give a completely translucent stain on the lips that has that rosy pop of color. Very similar to that is a product by The Body Shop, and this I think is probably my third tube of this very same product. This is the Lip and Cheek Stain, and it's in the shade 01, and it comes with a standard slanted doe foot applicator. I use this every single week to give me just that flash of color or that stain of color. A lot of times I use this as a base and then I'll put whatever other normal lip product, lipstick or gloss or whatever on top, so that when that wears off, I still have a little bit of stain underneath. My favorite matte lip product this year was from Maybelline. This is their Super Stay Ink crayons. I did a whole video swatching all of the shades in that line. In fact, I have a whole bag of them here. The shade that I have on in this video is the shade 45 Hustle in Heels. The reason I love this formula is, well, A, they are in very convenient twist up crayon form, so very easy to use. The formula though, you get a matte finish, but the formula is very creamy. So you're not sitting there tugging on the lips, trying to get the product to warm up so that it actually goes across the skin. Which is funny because one of the recent videos that I published was for L'Oreal's new or upcoming line of matte lip crayons, which seem quite similar, but this formula is not creamy. There's a lot of tugging on the lips. It is not moisturizing on the lips. And while these aren't super moisturizing, they're not drying, and they're definitely more moisturizing than the L'Oreal ones. And when I was swatching these, I was like, this reminds me of something as a worse version of some other product. And this is what I was thinking of, Maybelline Super Stay Ink crayons. So a huge line of, or array of colors that you can choose from, and a formula that is very pleasant to use. And I think inching out everything else for the year of 2019 for my favorite lip product, because it is my favorite formula, is L'Oreal's, what are these called? Rouge Signature Lightweight Matte Colored Inks. These things, whatever they're called. This formula is fantastic. So technically they're called a matte lip color, and it's true in the sense that there's no shimmer or shine in the finish, but these have a formula that is something you would think is a liquid lipstick, but it has a moisturizing, plump gel consistency and gel formula that makes them so pleasant to wear. This is one of the most pleasant lip products that I can wear around throughout the day, but it imparts the typical benefits that you would think of with a traditional liquid lipstick, which is nice color, very long wearing, oftentimes with the brighter shades staining on the lips, but in a formula that doesn't have the drawbacks of a traditional liquid lipstick. These don't prune out your lips, they don't dry your lips, they don't feel uncomfortable. They feel almost like a gloss that is super long wearing, if that makes sense. All right, so 2 extra categories. The first one was my favorite collection from 2019. So I went back and looked at all the videos that I did for all the collections that I reviewed, and I would have to say that my overall favorite collection was actually from MAC, which kind of surprises me because I do still review and swatch a lot of MAC collections, but I don't do every single one like I used to, you know, a few years ago. Anyway, my favorite overall collection was MAC's Pony Park collection. The reason why this, I think, was the best collection of 2019 is A, the artistry and creativity. The packaging was great, the artwork and design of the products was great. For example, there were 2 highlighters. This is one of them with this embossed sun design. The other highlighter had this embossed star design, and just even on the front of the packaging. So the packaging was great. The artistry and creativity behind the collection, I think, was superb. Second, the quality of the products across the board in that collection was there. So most of the time with MAC collections, you'll have a few products where the quality is great, and then you have a few products where it's just average, whatever, and then you have a few products where you're like, ugh, why would you invest your money in this formula? But with the Pony Park collection, each of the items, the quality on them was great. There were the highlighters, which, as you can see, I mean, I use all the time. I love these highlighters. The eyeshadow palette, I know a lot of people were kind of bored by the color selection, which is a personal thing, but it is a fantastic neutrals eyeshadow palette. Formula is great on it. And then the lip products, although they weren't my personal favorite, they were another kind of liquid lipstick type of product that had a super comfortable formula. And speaking of the lip products, that was the third thing that I think made this a great collection and put it at one of the best for this year. Was there was a brand new line of products that was released. I heard that it was in connection with the creator, the influencer, Korean influencer that they kind of partnered with, that she created this line or helped create the line of new formula for the lips. And I think that also makes it really impressive that those were, a lot of people like them. I kind of had a little bit of a problem with maybe the consistency of the coloring, but a lot of people really loved them, and that was one of the main draws to them, for them to the collection. So overall, with all those factors combined, I think this is my favorite collection of the year. But MAC's LC collection is a very close runner-up. I think the only reason why I didn't put that above this one is because the eye and face shadow palette was, I had a few things that I thought made the quality of that palette a little bit questionable for some of the shades. And my very final category is my favorite brand of the year. And that probably is no surprise to you. That award goes to Kaleidos Makeup. Now, I don't know if they were birthed in 2019, but they were definitely introduced to me and I think most everyone else in 2019. And this is such a fantastic brand. The creativity behind the brand, the quality of the products, it is so rare where you sit down and you take a product and you swatch it and you review it and you get the sense to yourself, someone from the brand sat down and tested these products, and someone from the brand thought, how is this going to actually function when a real person uses these? How are the colors going to show up on someone's skin? When someone applies this to their eyes, what is it going to look like? And it is mind-boggling that there are so many products we use, especially in this, YouTube beauty space, where you sit down and you think to yourself, did someone test this? Like, did someone actually quality control this? Or did they think about how the actual consumer would feel or the result they would get when they get this? I mean, why does that happen to us so often in this space? But when you sit down with a Kaleidos branded product, you think to yourself, someone put thought into this. Someone took the time to make sure that not only is this unique and creative, but they quality checked it, and then they made sure that the quality was not just acceptable, but fantastic. So uniqueness, creativity, quality of the products, consistency of the quality of the products, and just frankly, overall fabulousness. So if you've been under a rock somewhere and you haven't heard of Kaleidos or you haven't been checking them out, I have done videos because I am so thankfully lucky that I get to test out the products that they release. Thank you so much, Kaleidos Makeup, for including me as one of the creators that gets to review your products. But all that said, if you haven't been keeping your eye on this brand, there is a whole list of videos that I've done for all the products that they have available in the brand. You can check any one of those out to see what you want to try out first. You're probably gonna have a hard time narrowing it down, or you're gonna have a really large shopping cart of a lot of items, but don't worry, it'll be worth it. All right, those were my favorite products for the year of 2019. I really hope that you enjoyed this rundown. Please feel free to share with me in the comment section below the things that you loved this past year, and of course, any other thoughts or comments you have. I hope that you enjoyed the video. As always, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to watch, and I'll see you in the next one.